Beginners. This is one of the last videos I'm going to post for Basic MUN Training. And it is not exactly types of caucuses, because you've known formal debate, moderated caucus, unmoderated caucus. This is just a brief up upon everything. I would just want to talk about the difference between suspension and adjournment. Suspension is for a brief period of time with the promise to return back. Adjournment is sine die, which means with no particular meeting back time. So after the end of the conference, you raise a motion to adjourn the conference or adjourn the meeting. And if you're suppose breaking up for lunch or breaking for a coffee break, you raise a motion to suspend the meeting. Okay, so that's the basic difference between suspension and adjournment. Let me also throw some light on lobbying, how it's extremely important to lobby well in an MUN, especially for large committees like General Assembly. Only if you have the numbers can you get your motions and resolutions through. So you need to do a lot of lobbying. Lobbying actually means convincing others to vote in your favor. So whenever you get free time, be it a lunch, a coffee break, make WhatsApp groups, make particular groups, have people, convince them, go and tell them about your foreign policy, be diplomatic, give them some sort of bait to come and join your group, right? Try to play around the other signatories if you're a sponsor, and don't get played around if you yourself are a new student. So stick to your foreign policy. You should know your foreign policy so well that no one is able to kind of bully you in an MUN. And even if you get a grade 12th child coming to you and you're still in grade 8th or 9th, never mind, there you're all equal. Do not lose confidence. That's how you learn. So that is about lobbying. Now coming to something which a lot of people say, working papers. Now a lot of MUNs have working papers, many don't, and I sort of don't believe in working paper kinds of document because they generally add up to the draft resolution. But a working paper is a self-formatted draft within the conference anytime, which you can adopt different kinds of formats and focus on one specific agenda with certain solutions. In what is a particularly more important development in MUN these days is crisis sessions, right? And how crises come about suddenly on the second day of MUN conferences to stimulate the debate within the conference itself. Now, what exactly is a crisis and what does it require from you? Please remember, in a crisis, don't pinpoint fingers at others. If you do want to do that, do so very diplomatically. In a crisis, the chairperson wants you to find solutions. That is why it is called a crisis, right? Any crisis will not mark you well or will not get you marked well if you keep on criticizing, as you might be doing in normal debate. However, a crisis requires for greater collaboration, and please remember this line, especially for UNSC delegates. As UNSC, it is our primary responsibility and objective and agenda to find solutions to the crisis at hand, and therefore we will not be doing justice to the mandate United Nations Charter has entrusted upon us in order to discharge our duties as UNSC delegates. So these are fancy type of lines in which you can actually learn well, or get used to when you start attending a lot of conferences. You might want to pick a particular committee which is your favorite. For example, mine was UNSC, so I had developed this line. So when you talk about such lines, it shows that you have in-depth knowledge of the committee. However, what is extremely important in today's day and age is, if you want to master a committee, please do go and read the United Nations Charter thoroughly and understand it thoroughly. Because once you know whatever rules and regulations United Nations Charter gives you to play around with, you can easily tell the executive board that you're quite smart and you're here to back the best delegate. Otherwise, people might be doing whatever till the time you do not show something new. You do not use technical terms from the UN Charter and actually implement it on ground. You're no different from the rest, right? And you need to prove how you're better in order to become the best delegate. Now, also talking about because this is a miscellaneous video, because I've almost covered everything till now, about your formats and procedures. I feel I should also talk about how you have to research. Please remember that you need to have basic knowledge of your country. Obviously, do not, it's better if you know a lot. However, there are certain sites like United States has a country profile on CIA website. Then you have other BBC, Reuters, and a lot of other authentic websites which give you a lot of information about your country. The first thing is research about your country. Second is research about the country's stance on that agenda. So once you research about United States stance on climate change, you know how it has been changing due to administrations. So your foreign policy also needs to keep any administration change. Third and most important is research solutions, how to solve the crisis. Because for God's sake, please remember, if you have a crisis, you need to have in-depth knowledge. Once you get an in-depth knowledge, you can automatically work out solutions. The net is there to help you, right? A few must reads about MUN. If you are a newcomer, you should obviously know the United Nations Charter on Human Rights. As you keep on experiencing more and more committees, you would also need to know a lot about international law. You need to know a lot about things like Jus Causens, which is in international law. You need to also know a lot about different conventions, whether it's on climate change, if that is the committee, or there are hundreds and thousands. However, stick to the basic ones. Now, talking about position papers, I have a very simple rule. Use not more than 12 or 14 as font size. Use Times New Roman. You might want to put a flag of your country in the background. However, that's not necessary. A position paper should not exceed 1.5 page with that font, paragraphs only. First, an introduction to the topic. Second, your country has done if it is involved in the crisis, or what others have done if they are involved. This is the basic rule. Papers, if you get this right, there's no one who can take away the best position paper prize from you.